We're live, Tara.
I think we are, Rick Wilson.
We're live. Hello, everybody. Hope
welcome.
A fine evening.
Yes, this is a special edition of The Breakdown because we are relaunching our show and coming back to you live next week. We're back. We're off hiatus.
One more week.
That's right. Mark your calendars, folks. The Rick Wilson and myself will be back on The Breakdown as you are used to, with a little new twists or a bit. You'll see a new look. But we will be back next Tuesday at 8 p.m. We have a new time. We will be on at 8. We heard you. A lot of our supporters were like, "You're on at 9. You compete with Maddow." And so we heard you, and we are now going to be live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. So make a note of that. We will see you again at this time next week right here. So Rick, we have lots to talk about. We asked our followers to send us questions. So if you haven't, send some questions in. We'll pull some more of them at hashtag #AskTheBreakdown on Twitter. We will pull some more of your questions, but we have a bunch that we're going to answer tonight. But before we get to our questions, let's chat a little bit about some things that are going on. You had a Rick Wilson epic rant happening this morning on Twitter about a certain person who wishes that they will be Speaker of the House, but will probably never even sniff the gavel, Kevin McCarthy.
Sniffing the gavel sounds like the dirtiest possible Newt Gingrich sex game.
Or maybe a
gavel.
Or perhaps a Matt Gaetz role-playing game. I'm not sure.
Stop. No.
We won't go there. TikTok, Matt Gaetz.
Yes, TikTok, Matt. Everybody, I need to apologize for my dogs. They're running around on the deck, and they are barking at everything, including the hawk, which you may also hear in the background. So it's the circle of life.
Yes. No worries. We get it. Usually when I'm outside on my deck, it's like wildlife theater back there. We've got hawks, we've got birds, we've got squirrels and chipmunks and hummingbirds. It's like always something happening. And we have this pileated woodpecker that I call Woody that it sounds like you're in the Costa Rica jungle when they do their call. And I was like, what in the hell is that? Because I'm from Jersey and we didn't have those there. So here in Northern Virginia, you've got them. They're really cool looking too. They really look like Woody Woodpecker, but they have this really exotic, very loud call.
They do. Yeah. We get them here. But enough of the Lincoln Project Wildlife Hour, everybody.
Yes.
So Tara, I went out today and I did a tweet storm that got some attention. Got a little bit of attention today on Twitter and elsewhere, and it basically laid out the fact that Republicans are winning the political battle on the matter of January 6th. They are pretending it didn't happen. They are throwing it down the memory hole. And the Democrats, because God love y'all, you do not know how to fight. These people are amoral. They are shameless. They are fucking you hard right now, and you don't understand it. And so they keep, the leadership keeps thinking we have to have a bipartisan commission or it won't be believed by the American people. Get your heads out of your asses, folks. It's not going to be believed by 40% of the American people regardless, because Fox News is telling them that it was Antifa super soldiers from Black Lives Matter charging the Capitol. And I don't know if you noticed, Tara, but the unbearable whiteness of being about that crowd, I didn't see a lot of Black Lives Matter activists charging the Capitol that day.
Yeah, you and I both know the absurdity of that. They were looking for a fall guy, and they wanted us, don't believe your lying eyes. And it was very, very 1984, complete double speak, going back to the Ministry of Truth and changing the videos and the newspaper articles about what actually happened on January 6th. I mean, first of all, Kevin McCarthy, we all know, he was one of the people who was begging for help from Trump that day, which is part of the reason why he does not want this commission, because the commission will have subpoena power. And so just to give background to our folks about what's going on here. So many nights we have called for a commission similar to the commission after 9/11, the Warren Commission after the JFK assassination. When major events like this happen, it's something that a bipartisan commission can get to the bottom of, and we can see what happened. And they're fighting this because Kevin McCarthy is afraid of getting subpoenaed, because he was on the phone that day. Representative Herrera Butler said so. She witnessed it. She outed McCarthy's conversation. And Kevin McCarthy himself went on the floor of the House and basically said, yeah, Trump kind of incited this before he got a talking to. And then when Trump was pissed off about the fact that McCarthy put any blame on him, McCarthy went down to Mar-a-Lago and kissed his ring. And now he's been a Trump ass kisser worse than ever since then, trying to do anything to please his master. Well, this is one of those things, because Representative Katko, who is the Republican on the Homeland Security Committee that worked out this bipartisan deal, McCarthy gave Katko his proxy to negotiate this. And he negotiated all of the things that McCarthy wanted except for scope, because the Republicans wanted to include Black Lives Matter protests last summer because they're trying to put them on equal footing, which they're not. We all know why they're trying to do that. One has absolutely nothing to do with the other. So Democrats said, no, we're not doing that. So they were able to negotiate what seemed like a good deal to have equal numbers of Republicans and Democrats on the commission. And then McCarthy got, I guess, another talking to, because we're hearing that Trump was not happy about some things. And McCarthy, and McCarthy threw Katko under the bus and blew up the deal this morning. It's outrageous.
Well, here's the thing. What the Republicans' behavior is outrageous, but it's also completely expected.
True.
And what I think is really vital right now is that the Democrats sack the hell up and just name the commission tomorrow and just say to the Republicans, you either name your people or fuck you, we'll do it ourselves. There is nothing to stop them from forming this commission tomorrow.
That's true.
This idea that you're going to blow up some bipartisan deal, what are they going to help you on? Economic recovery?
Yeah.
Infrastructure, COVID, nothing. The entire purpose of the GOP right now is to try to put January 6th as far in the rear view as they can. It is politically important for the Democrats to do this because it nationalizes the 2022 election.
Yes.
This election will not be about health care or daycare or gun control or climate change or anything else, except in the minds of the Republicans, it's going to be the epic battle to stop the rise of socialism and Antifa.
That's
and they're
right.
going to be told that over and over again. And unless you provide people with countervailing information, 40% of the people in the country will believe the ludicrous bullshit. It is a political utility for the Democrats to do this.
It's that's absolutely true. And it's starting already. Take it from us, folks. For our friends who are on the other side of the aisle. Republicans are very good at messaging. They say the same thing over and over and over and over again, whether it has to do with what's happening in the real world or not. That's how we got here with this. The constant repeating of the same three main themes. And so Rick is 100% correct. This is not going to be a midterm election about policy, unfortunately. As much as we would love that to be the case, it will not. And Democrats got shellacked in 2020 down ballot and in state races. This is happening all over the United States, even in states like, for example, New Hampshire, where Trump lost by a lot, but Republicans gained state seats down ballot. And these are the people who draw the congressional lines in a lot of states. In the states that don't have independent commissions, it's the state legislatures that Republicans control in a lot of places that will redraw the districts. And that gives Republicans an advantage. They have an advantage historically anyway. It's really close. So if you have to nationalize these elections, because if you make it about worrying about, the Trumpers and what they're doing and the Marjorie Taylor Greens
and hurting their feelings.
That's right. You have to make every candidate, no matter where you are in the district, whatever district you are, nationalize it. How many times did you see Republicans using the Squad and AOC as an example of what will happen to the country if you elect any Democrat? It didn't matter. If you were in the cornfields of Kansas.
They'll defund the police.
That's right. That's right.
Mandatory Sharia law.
So Democrats should be running ads showing the crazy Trump people that, storming the Capitol and marching with tiki torches and screaming crazy stuff and acting nuts. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, saying the things that she says. And Lauren Boebert talking about how if she's Speaker of the House, she's going to take the metal detectors away and use them as target practice. All the crazy shit that they say should be on a loop in every Democratic ad at some point. constantly because
Yep.
this is what they believe. And
It's
so,
true, Tara. And and this is why I did that tweet storm today, because there still is this residual belief that the American people want bipartisanship. That was true 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. They don't give a fuck. This is a war now. The Republican side of this equation is a fundamental bad actor in the political process. They do not want cooperation. They do not want bipartisanship. They seek only pure power. Yep. Look, we helped build this thing over the years, all of us on the Republican side, and we know what it is and what it'll do. So this is why the Democrats need to stop screwing around, get on point, get on this investigation, and start doing the things, even though they don't necessarily end up with a pure, clean, successful win. You cause static, you cause disruption, you get inside the decision-making loop of the other side. Look, I want 5 days of fighting on Fox News and MSNBC over the fact that the House subpoenaed that traitorous scumbucket Josh Hawley.
Yes.
Which we should do.
That's right.
He encouraged it. I want 5 days of them fighting a subpoena by Rudy Giuliani about trial by combat. I want people screaming bloody murder about this because it reminds Americans that Donald Trump sent an armed, violent, maniacal mob of Trump-hottie terrorists to overthrow a free and fair democratic election in our country. I want people thinking about that. This is the stakes that we face. It is not some random, election where we're going to decide about marginal tax rates being 32.3 or 32.8%.
That's important. That's important too.
I'll take
but
lower.
Not going to be right. But that's not going to be the campaign slogan.
No, but this campaign is going to be about whether or not you want to fight to save America. The bad guys have to win one election, and that's that. You know what? If you look out in the states, as you pointed out very ably just now, Tara, out in the states, they're passing all this voting restriction laws. They passed a bill in Florida that makes it legal to run over a fucking protester.
And not just Florida. Not just Florida.
And it's happened in other states as well. It's part of this model legislation they're passing. Thanks, Heritage Action. But that's what this election is going to be about. It's going to be about an epic apocalyptic battle with people who will do anything to seize and power and control.
That is 100% right. And we cannot emphasize this enough. And I know that it makes some of our Democratic friends uncomfortable. And we get it. Believe me, as much as we'd love to debate the Green New Deal and infrastructure and what constitutes infrastructure, and family leave and all of those things are important, but they cannot be what they lead with when the campaign season comes full swing. They have got to start laying the foundation now and defining their opponents, because the Republicans are defining you guys every single day with socialism and Dr. Seuss and culture wars and Marxism and defunding the police, all of that stuff. They are hammering that home, indoctrinating their people every single day for hours and hours and hours on multiple channels. So you cannot underestimate that. That's how we got here.
If you look at the traffic on Fox and on Facebook, you will see an entire alternate universe where
it's true.
I just love how much this guy's going to get dragged. Representative Clyde from Georgia, who gave his little remarks the other day about, they were just like tourists. Well, now there are pictures being revealed of Clyde running to barricade the doors in the House chamber. Okay, so listen, dude, they didn't know who you were. They would have killed you too if they got in.
Damn right they would have.
Your performative little stunt saying, they were just tourists. It's just like an ordinary day. They were so well behaved. Were they well behaved when you were? Do you ordinarily barricade your door from well behaved tourists? So Representative Clyde, I think you'll probably end up being a one-term trifle, but I do have my eye on you because you are a particular kind of Peckerwood that I loathe in a passionate way.
Can add him to the Peckerwood list with Andy Biggs and Gozar and Mo Brooks.
God. And Tara, I was thinking about these people today, and you've got a lot of these folks on the Republican side who privately will say, they don't talk to us anymore, but they will privately say, that was crazy. Without Trump sent those people, we almost died. But, Hunter Thompson has a great phrase that he said, the truth when you chase it down is always far worse than your darkest vision. And that's what we're seeing here. These people, you chase down the truth about who they are. The reason they're upset about talking about January 6th isn't because they don't want to take responsibility. They're never going to take responsibility. It's because it didn't work. That's why they're really
right.
Upset.
That's right.
Really upset. They would have turned this into a story of heroic revolution and they have become a revolutionary party. A friend of mine today pointed that out to me. He said, you look at how democracies fail in part and how they are under threat in part is because one established political party or movement gets infected and doesn't work inside the old political space anymore. It becomes a revolutionary party.
Yeah.
Revolutionary parties justify their behavior across the spectrum. They decide they can do whatever they want to achieve the ends of their revolution.
Yes.
So you've got a guy like Representative Clyde, who you've seen photographs now from AP of the guy helping barricade the door, helping push back against a mob of people who were there to kill Nancy Pelosi.
Mm-hmm.
And here's
and
the
Mike
thing.
Pence, apparently.
And Mike Pence. Here's the thing. If those people had found Representative Clyde, he would have fallen beneath their feet, being trampled to death or being beaten to death, screaming, "I'm a Republican." It would not have mattered. They wouldn't have known who he was.
That's right.
They were out of control. It is only by the grace of a moment of absolute providence and Officer Goodman that these people did not enter into the chamber where into the rooms where the senators were hiding and murder them.
Yeah.
I mean, I go back to that a lot because January 6th really was a murder plot. They
sent
to as an example to others, pour encourager les autres. I speak terrible French, so never mind my French. They wanted an example. They wanted a tragedy. And that's why they don't want to investigate it. They're mad it didn't work. They're pissed off it didn't work. But now they don't want to be revealed for how deeply complicit they were in it, how compromised they were in it, how they comprise part of a broad conspiracy with Donald Trump to overturn and overthrow the election.
That's 1,000% correct, because there were so many who were hoping that it would work. And there were so many who had their hands in it in some way, shape, or form. And the ones that thought that it would just be, performative and it got out of hand, well, they're not, they can't abscond their responsibility either. So that's why they really don't want this commission. Listen, I worked in Capitol Hill for 7 years. I say this often. I was up there during the Benghazi time. Now, there were a lot of really questionable things that happened that surrounded Benghazi, and it warranted being investigated. However, the obsession with the Republicans years after Benghazi, which is, I'm not gonna minimize what happened there, but compared to that was in a faraway land and lives were lost and it was terrible. This was something that happened in our own house. You used a term, Rick, that I wrote down that I think we should use more often, which is Trump hottie, to describe the mob of violent rioters, insurrectionists. That's what they are. These people are jihadists, domestic jihadists on the name of, pledging their allegiance to Donald Trump. That is a really powerful statement that I think some people may think is over the top, but I don't, because that's a great word. So I hope you coined it, because we will use it again.
I did.
Good.
TM, bitches.
Yes. There you go.
Well, why don't we take some questions?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a couple. Let me pull some up here and see what we get, because this is one of those issues. Let's see. So we had someone ask us actually the question about Andrew Clyde. So you already answered that. Let's pick another one. Okay, let's see. Here we go. In your honest opinion, this is from Brandy Kaplan. In your honest and professional opinion, do you think Trump will actually face any legal consequences for what happened on January 6th?
Open question. Still an open question. Look, I think that we will end up in one of those ditches of can a president be charged for his rhetoric? Because if you had a private citizen telling people charge down there, take it back, seize it, it'd be a different case. I hope he is. I hope his minions are. I hope that a lot of the other people there that day, like Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump Jr. and Gary Busey Jr., Eric Trump and others who were down there, really face some consequences and some penalties for it. It is richly deserved. It is politically appropriate. Look, they should subpoena Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
No, but then they get to mock him and dunk on him and call him call him a variety of names, rhyming with Ussy, and it will drive him crazy. He'll start saying shit. He'll incriminate himself more. So I hope so. I don't know. Again, you've got to also roll these things up from the bottom. And the FBI and the DOJ appear to be rolling up a lot of these things from the bottom. We will get to, I think you'll get up that chain to the Ali Alexanders and the Roger Stones and the other Stop the Steal organizers and the leaders of the Proud Boys and the leaders of the 3%ers who were there. I think you will end up getting some more of those people. And, you keep rolling it up the hill. You roll the ball up the hill further and further because some of those people were talking to the White House the night before. And we don't know the extent of those conversations, but we know they occurred. They've been reported in some of the indictments. And so it's going to be something I think we really need to keep an eye on. I'm hopeful that there'll be some justice served on that front.
Yes, me too. And I've heard a lot of my legal friends kind of debate this about, like, can Trump be brought up on sedition charges or something like that hasn't been used in a long time. And maybe, but I think that the commission, part of why they're so afraid of it is that there may be people who will finally talk and admit that Trump sat back and let it happen, or that there were discussions ahead of time that said, if it gets violent, don't do anything. That those directives were coming from the top. It was coming from the Oval Office. I can almost guarantee it, because a lot of things didn't make sense about the response. With the National Guard, with the lack of cooperation between the Capitol Police, the FBI, and the National Guard. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense unless there was someone with their finger on the scale, stopping it. And so,
I think the DOD questions are going to be absolutely fascinating, and there's going to be a meaningful set of consequences for some of those people, because that tranche of people they sent over there at the last minute, post-election, really, to try to take over the DOD. That was another aspect of a more silent part of this attempted coup that deserves a lot more examination, and the people that were involved in it deserve to face some consequences.
Yes, and if they find out that any members of Congress, like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Boebert or any of the other jackasses, were coordinating with these bastards, they should be expelled from Congress. Yes, they need to. Sure. An example should be made of all. If we
find out that these people were taking them on reconnaissance tours the day before, they should be booted. And you know what? Let the chips fall where they may.
Yes.
By the way, one other thing about Congress. One of the stories that popped out today, our old friend Liz Mayer is being sued by Devin Nunes, who is a world-class rocket-powered fuckwit of the highest order, because she said things about him that he disagreed with politically. It is an attempt to absolutely, to use the power of his office and the power of his friendship with the president to intimidate a private citizen who is engaged in political speech, which is one of the most highly protected forms of speech under the First Amendment. Long story short, it turns out that tangential to her case, Devin Nunes was having the Justice Department try to go out and find the identities of Devin Nunes's of these Twitter accounts that were anonymously criticizing Devin Nunes. This is an overreach in the DOJ. I called Bill Barr the most dangerous person in America from about 2018 on. Yeah, you did, absolutely.
Yeah,
and just absolutely warned that he would abuse his power in so many ways. And this is one small example. We're going to keep peeling back the layers of this file over there. And I think it's going to be incredibly ugly. And I think it's going to be something that ends up with Bill Barr visiting Congress to testify a few times about some of the shenanigans he got up to at the expense of, or at the behest, clearly, of either the White House or Devin Nunes. Either one is bad news, Bill.
Devin Nunes was actually sued, was it Twitter and Liz, for $250 million over that account?
$400 million.
Oh my God. I mean, they accuse the other side of being snowflakes all the time, and these whining bitches are the worst. They whine so much. They are the worst.
The worst.
All of them. Oh my God. And the whole thing about him not being able to handle a Twitter account making fun of him is just the epitome of that. It's epitome. Did Rick freeze on me? And let's not forget that Devin Nunes was the
by a guy.
It's
like the lawyer from Trash Fire Mountain.
And this jerk off was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee for the first 2 years of Trump. Doesn't get any more of an oxymoron than that. Devin Nunes. Good grief. Okay, we have another question. I think it's about Arizona. Hold on, let me pick it up. Okay. It's talking about being asinine. It's about this recount in Arizona, if that's what you want to call it. Do you think this is from Deb D 3038499. Do you think these fake audits in the states Trump lost are being done to get voter information for legislators' gerrymandering efforts?
No. All that information comes from the Census Bureau and the state supervisors of elections. That information for redistricting is already built into the system. They don't need anything else. They're literally required by law at the Census Bureau to provide the states with the information on population and demographics to the redistricting processes in these states. And it's a boring and politically hyper important aspect of what's going to happen. What these investigations are meant to do is to give people excuses to say that the big lie is real. Trump really secretly won the election. Trump is really secretly president in Mar-a-Lago. Spoiler alert, he is not. But that's what these things are for. They've already got all the information they want, and you'd be terrified if you knew how much information Facebook and other commercial agencies will sell to those same state parties while they're doing redistricting, so they can determine how to best cut those seats. Yep,
that's exactly right. This recount sham going on in Arizona is very fascinating.
Cyber ninjas.
Yeah, cyber ninjas. Good Lord. But I mean, the fact that the taxpayers of Arizona are even paying these guys is just, I mean, that should be enough to kick every one of those state senators out of office for this just mishap here. Their judgment is awful. But this again goes to pledging fealty to Trump. This has nothing to do with ballot security or election security or trying to get to the bottom of fixing a process. It wasn't broken in Arizona, and this is not the way to do it. Bringing in some Trump conspiracy theory loyalist from Florida that runs this company that has zero experience in actually running an election audit. They're not certified. And doing his bidding, bringing in people there was a state senator that was at the insurrection on the 6th. He's no longer a state senator in Arizona. He was working, volunteering in this audit. It took a judge to force them to produce their policies and procedures for the audit to make it public to the people, because they wouldn't do that. In their security plan, they had a whole security plan, Rick, about Antifa, in case worrying about Antifa attacking the facility when they were doing the recount, which is absurd. We couldn't make this shit up. The Crazy Town Circus was literally next to them on these fairgrounds, and these people, it was rumored that they were worried that it was an Antifa surveillance operation of them. No.
I the other day in Florida had a formerly serious Republican actually argue with me that Antifa was much more dangerous to America than Al-Qaeda has ever been. I'm like, really? It's like, they're much more deadly. I'm like, really? Can I direct your attention to September 11th? Just for a second, maybe. So Antifa is their favorite
boogeyman.
boogeyman. It is their favorite fantasy. It's their scare closet.
And unfortunately, that side that engaged in the violent behavior in Portland and Seattle gave fuel to the fire. It gave them something to cling on to. Unfortunately, and obviously we don't condone that. And I don't know what the hell Portland was doing all that time, letting them get away with that crap for weeks on end and not putting a stop to it. That breathed life into the Trump campaign and to Republicans that had nothing to run on last summer as Americans were dying by the thousands because of COVID and the failure of the Trump administration to respond to that. And that gave them an out. The whole defund the police, Antifa nonsense that was happening.
Hand your opponent the sword to cut off your head.
So unfortunately, they did give them that, and they're running with it now. Antifa those violent outbursts and protests are a problem. It is not an organized movement the way that the Trump hottie is by any means. And it's not the threat that they don't have. Last time I checked, there aren't a number of pro-Antifa members of Congress that are going out of their way. I missed that. Where's the Antifa caucus? I don't see that in Congress. So unlike what's going on with these idiots on the Republican side defending Donald Trump and trying to rationalize January 6th.
Guys, I need to deal with a dog.
Go ahead. There was one dog that was curled up on the couch, but I guess he's howling now. To talk a little bit more about Arizona and what's going on there and why people should care. So there's an interesting dynamic happening because of what a disaster this Cyber Ninjas recount is. Like anyone could have predicted that. Republicans on a local level there, the county Republicans, they are fed up. Donald Trump has weighed in on this. He's making up stuff, hearing conspiracy theories that databases of election information were deleted and all of this nonsense that's going on that's not happening. And local election officials, Republicans on the ground in Arizona, are saying enough is enough. This is bullshit. It's a sham. These people don't know what they're doing. Because they don't know what they're doing, they're turning around, making accusations against us and the election process that aren't valid. This needs to stop.
It needs to stop, Dobby.
Yes, Dobby agrees.
Dobby says it needs to stop.
Yes.
We will not tolerate it any longer.
I'm talking about Arizona and how the local officials, Republicans on the ground there, Rick, are fed up. And today they're because there's a pause in the counting because they're going over the time that they said they would do it. So there's graduations going on in the facility that they rented for this because it was supposed to be over with by now. So now they're saying, look, you guys need to stop it. State Senate, put an end to this. This is nonsense. And I think that's the Liz Cheney effect. Because Liz Cheney has given permission now to some of these state officials who don't believe in what Trump is doing, right? It's given them permission to speak up a little bit. And maybe that's what's happening. Maybe that's a cascading effect of that. I find that interesting because the lieutenant governor of Georgia also came out, Duncan, and said, this is toxic. This isn't a good idea. We need to not be a party that just worships a person. We need to get back to being a party of ideals. We'll see. We'll see where this goes. I know. Good luck with that, you guys. All right, let's take another question. Where is it? I had one right here. Okay. This is about Lincoln Project plans on placing ads in 2022. Rick, this is from Brady Gardner 4. Which states do you plan on placing ads in for the 2022 midterms? Talk a little bit about what we're doing in 2022.
We are building out our game plan. Our campaign roadmap for 2022 right now, examining where the redistricting is going to shift some of these lines. Redistricting will be moving very quickly now in the next few weeks, then we'll understand the geometries a little bit better of where we'll be able to go and fight some of these battles. We will be working there were 41 seats picked up by the Democrats in 2018 after Trump was elected. The Democrats then went and managed to lose about 2/3 of those. A lot of those are still swing seats. We believe some of those can be snatched back. We believe a number of those will be redistricted to make them a little more competitive and advantageous. We will be fighting in some of the Senate races, including some of the important ones. Wisconsin in particular is a very fertile ground for us, and Ron Johnson is a traitorous scumbag who deserves all of the pain that can be brought onto him by our supporters, in terms of his political fate. And we're going to be
electorally. We don't mean it literally.
I don't mean it literally.
We're not part of the Trump hottie.
I'm not saying he should be eaten by wild dogs, because if I had any wild dogs, I don't know. Kidding, LOL. But we're going to be releasing more of our target lists in the immediate future. But there are a lot of states in contention now. The politics are changing in a lot of the states very quickly. I mean, just today we saw Nikki Fried has announced she's going to run for governor, the very popular commissioner of agriculture, against DeSantis, who is a very unpopular figure in the country. She might be able to leverage that to raise some meaningful money on the campaign. We'll see. It's
Val Demings.
It's going to be very. And Val Demings is running against Marco Rubio for U.S. Senate. And Val freaks out some of the progressives in Florida that she's not progressive enough.
I love her,
but she's tough as nails.
Tough as nails.
She's got a certain affect about her that is like no tolerance for bullshit. And
I was pushing for her to be the vice president choice, because
I thought she could have talked about it. She would have been great.
Because I thought she would have been able to blunt the defund the police crap that they were using.
Yeah. And I think she's going to be an interesting candidate against Rubio, in part because Rubio has become seen even by his fans as someone who is completely weak. True. Even people who love Marco Rubio treat Marco Rubio now as sort of like the cousin who, is always fucking it up. He's not the guy he was 5 years ago by any stretch.
He's not. I was a Rubio supporter in 2016. I was hoping for him to win the nomination. I thought he could be the future of the party. And he's another one that just completely shit the bed and was really disappointing and turned out to be a spaghetti-spined coward like the rest of them. Incredibly disappointing. And that is a race that I hope he loses. And it would be wonderful for him to lose it to Val Demings. If she wins the Democratic nomination, she has to get through that process first. But it's tough in Florida, but we'll see. I mean, it's possible. It's possible for her. So speaking of Florida, before we go to the next question, Rick Scott, did you see this, Rick? How Rick Scott has kindly asked that Trump stay out of primary races? How good luck with that?
As I tweeted today, bless your heart.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's like telling Matt Gaetz to stay out of a middle school. This is a guy who has just poked Trump with the thing that Trump can't resist. He can't resist this shit. He can't stop himself. Now he's going to be like, well, they told me not to. That silver bowl they got at whatever dollar store they got it at was not going to be effective for very long. It got the photograph with the thumbs up. But now Trump's being told, and all of his people around him will be like, how dare he tell you not to pick the candidates you want?
Right. That's right.
Beautiful.
His minions around him are going to be, his son's going to be like, come on, Dad. They don't tell you what to do. You want me to go punch him out, Dad? Then you'll love me.
Love me, Dad! Love
me! Oh, gosh.
By the way, everybody, that's Jane behind me.
Yay. So, how many dogs do you have, Rick?
Well, that's Jilly, actually. I'm sorry. I thought Jane was back there. It's Jilly. They swapped out. 3.
What are their names? Jane, Jilly, and
Dobby. We just lost Riley recently. Who was the best of best boys. And the cat is lurking around here somewhere, but she's
nameless.
She's mostly contemptuous of me. I haven't spotted her lately. She's in the house somewhere though.
Oh my gosh! Well, we love it. Tiki is looking around.
She came back yesterday with a cardinal feather hanging out of her mouth like a.
Oh no! Oh my God! Well, listen, Tiki is an indoor cat. He does not go outside. Well, so how the hell did she end up with a cardinal feather?
She got out,
Oh, well, Tiki is an indoor cat. He's 14 and he, his paws don't touch dirt or grass ever. Mainly because I'm paranoid that anything will ever happen to him, and for good reason. So we live on some woods. Mm-hmm. And last week, on a Sunday evening. Tiki and I were watching television. My husband was asleep because he had to get up early for work. Nice Sunday night. And Tiki, usually we have raccoons that come up sometimes on our deck that are a little friendlier than usual, but they're cute but annoying. And Tiki will bat at them through the doors of our patio, right? What are you gonna do? Those raccoons will kill you, Tiki. Like, stop it. Well, this night he's going and he's looking at the door and he's sitting there and it's pitch black, so I can't see what's happening. And I'm thinking it's the raccoons. So I go and I look, but because I hear some commotion and I thought that they knocked over my plants.
Right.
I look and flick the light on. It was a freaking black bear.
Nice.
A black bear came up my deck steps and was looking at me through my glass patio door. And I was like, holy shit. Yeah. So we had a freaking black bear visit us. I've never seen a black bear in person before. And so I went and I looked out my other window in another room and I flicked the light on and there was the bear playing with a planter in my yard, having a good old time, I guess, looking for food, and then scurried off. So that's why Tiki doesn't go outside, because we've got black bears in the backyard. And I would be horrified if anything ever happened to the Teekster.
I have alligators, coyotes.
Yeah.
Feral
alligator.
pigs,
Yeah.
The whole
much.
shenanigan.
I can't deal with it. So Tiki stays in. All right. Let's see. We've got 15 minutes left. Let's
when LPTV comes back, Tara, we're just gonna have to do a separate pet show.
We have to. And a lot of our supporters are always asking us about our pets and what's happening. And don't worry, you'll continue to see them and we'll keep telling pet stories. And we may even ask you guys to send us some pet stories and photos of yours. So stay tuned for that with our breakdown.
I've had many requests for the cat in the last few minutes. I don't know where she is.
Yeah, I don't know where Tiki is either. He's around here somewhere, but he's, cats do their own thing.
Well, let's do another question.
Yeah, let's do another question. All right. Here's one. We'll get a little more esoteric. Doghouse Forge. How do we restore faith in government? Hypocrisy is unchecked with no consequences.
It's a fantastic question. And one of the reasons, and folks, you may have heard about this, and we'll leave a link in the show notes later or on the comments. The Lincoln Project has spun off a civics education charitable foundation called the Franklin Project. Because one of the things we've realized about Trumpism is it flourishes in a place where people don't understand government, the Constitution, our norms, institutions, traditions. When they don't learn about them and they don't understand them, it's hard to embrace them. And it becomes easy to believe that America is what you're told on Fox News or on crazy Facebook groups or on Twitter. And so the Franklin Project is one of the things we're doing to try to start some conversations and engage some people in civic activism in a way that will help us as a country, help us as a people, and give folks an area where they can be motivated and organized and engaged and involved in politics from the grassroots all the way up. Because if you start building out cadres of people who believe in the country, who understand the Constitution, who understand governance, that's not liberal or conservative, that's American. And
that's right.
Think it's really important to do. And that's part of how you restore faith in not just in government, but in our system. Yeah. And bad actors.
In institutions.
Yes, bad actors exploit guilt and fear and distrust very effectively in trying to overthrow legitimate governments.
It's one of the tools of demagogues.
It is absolutely
one of the tools of demagogues.
In the toolbox, for sure. And those tools have to be managed very carefully so that we, as a people, have a way to inoculate ourselves against it. And civic education is part of that. So we're very excited about what Franklin's going to do. We've got some great leadership over there. We'll be adding some more people over to that side of the house. We are separate organizations, but we are informed by the same spirit of, so we're sort of the combat arm and they're sort of the Peace Corps, I guess is the best way to analogize.
Right. They're soft power.
They're soft power.
We're the kinetic power.
Guys that kick down the door. So we're very excited about Franklin. We'll be talking about that a bit more on the podcast in the future. And we'll have some cross feed between ourselves and Franklin Project in the coming weeks, especially because we're really excited about some of the leadership they have and some of the work they're going to be able to do in the coming year.
It's really
It's gonna
fantastic.
help.
I encourage folks to check out the website. We'll have it posted for the Franklin Project, and watch the video announcing the
Yes.
launch of Franklin Project. It will make you feel
It'll make the hairs
inspired
stand up on the back of your neck.
to do something. If you haven't been inspired already, it will inspire you to reconnect with your American civics and feel good about it, because it will arm you with what you need. There we go. There's the Franklin Project website, franklinproject.us.
There's a lot of charitable foundation like Franklin can do that a super PAC like Lincoln can't do.
That's right. That's right. So
super PACs are proud of that effort. They're very good at certain things, but they can't do everything.
That's right. And it's designed that way on purpose.
Yeah, so, it's how the law works.
That's part of the system. And it was Ben Franklin who said, we've got a republic if we can keep it. I think that was something that hit home for us, because we watched how close we came to losing it. And so we're all in the same fight. And it was Thomas Jefferson who was very emphatic about the fact that we need to have an informed citizenry, because if not, the citizenry is susceptible, like lambs are to wolves, to tyranny. And we are watching that happen right in front of our eyes. And we and you guys and others, we're privileged to be in a position to use our knowledge and what we know and the platforms we have to help educate more people, because our democracy depends on it. So kudos to the Franklin Project. Check it out. We have a lot of exciting things going on, folks. A lot of exciting things.
Let's
All right.
Take another question.
Let's take another question. Let's see. Where is it? We answered that one. Oh, okay. What is the greatest challenge to getting the Republican Party back to the party of Lincoln? That is from Zapatista R1.
Reality. The harsh fact that the party is now fundamentally altered. And I'm going to make a sort of flippant analogy, but it's not really meant as flippantly as it might sound. It's like cannibalism. Once you're a cannibal, there's no going back. Once you've tasted the long pig, as they say, there's no going back. Once you're a cannibal forever. Once you're an insurrectionist forever. Once you try to destroy a free and fair democratic election, you're not a Republican anymore. You're a revolutionary. And once you do that, you can't go back. And the problem is they don't want to go back. None of them want to go back. I mean, look, there's a small splinter group, and a lot of them are our friends. I support what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think it's an important moral statement. But the party that they think they can save hates them. The patient will try to kill the doctor before they let the doctor cure them. So I think it's a very steep hill. I think there is a space and a place in this country for a center-right political movement. I think there are many people in this country who are politically homeless right now because of what Trump has done to the right. I'm independent. Okay. And I think we benefit in the country by having compelling, strong arguments on both sides of political equations. I wish we were in that space. We're not. So it's going to be a really hard hill to climb up to save the Republican Party. But hopefully the actuarial tables at some point will kick in and Donald Trump will shuffle off this mortal coil. I have had a cat sighting, and for the good updates, I'm going to attempt to retrieve said cat.
Go ahead, and I will add my 2 cents to that. Listen, there are a lot of us, and I signed on to that letter of over 100 Republicans and independents for the American Renewal Initiative that my friends Evan McMullin and Miles Taylor are spearheading, because I agree with those principles, and they are making a good faith attempt to try to hold the Republican Party accountable, and to see if it can be fixed from within. And if it's not, then there's a possibility there could be a spinoff. Maybe it's a new party, a new movement, something. And, I'm all about that because, to Rick's point, we do need to have a healthy opposing views in order to govern. But right now, the current state of the Republican Party, which is why I left it, has no desire to govern. It is a party that is lost, that is bending its knee to a wannabe authoritarian lunatic, and every opportunity they've had to off-ramp from this, whether it was the election, whether it was the insurrection, multiple, name your transgression that Trump committed. And the Republicans have not decided to finally say, we're done here. They have not only not gotten off the Trump train, they've gotten on and brought more baggage. It's insane. And the few Republicans like the Liz Cheneys and the Adam Kinzingers and a handful of others that actually said enough is enough, they are the exception, which is a really sad state of affairs. So it is an uphill task. It may be a Sisyphean effort, but at least they're going to give it one last shot. And okay. But I think that eventually, if a deadly insurrection on our Capitol that threatened their lives too isn't A, the epitome of cognitive dissonance, but B, isn't enough for you to say that's it, I don't know what it's going to take. I really don't. So I'm not sure if it's even possible. There may have to be something new. It may have to be burned to the ground, something new. But we'll see what happens. Were you successful in retrieving the cat, Rick?
It's getting on towards our time, but let's get one more question.
Did you hear me? I asked you, were you successful in retrieving the cat?
No, the cat completely skunked me.
Hurried off.
Apparently, the hair and makeup clause in her contract forbids pop-up appearances on streaming television.
Well, it's because the light is not correct. It is too dark now, and it's all about lighting. So she said, "Not tonight. Try me another time when there's better light." All right, I think we have time for one more question, Rick.
All right,
let's make it a good one. I had it in front of me and it went away.
Well, while you're finding that, I want to remind you that Maya May and Lisa Cynical from our We're Speaking program will be doing their own live event tomorrow night, I believe, at 9 p.m. Eastern time.
I'm not sure that that's what's happening tomorrow night exactly, but they will be doing a live. And so stay tuned make sure you follow them, Lisa Cynical and Maya May. Follow them on Twitter. If you haven't begun following LPTV's Twitter feed, follow at LPTV.
At LPTV.
There will be announcements for when their live is coming up, because we're all working out the kinks for our new shows next week. So, but something will be coming from them, and their new show also next week. Their new season begins on Wednesday at 8:00. We've all moved our shows to 8:00 because, like we said, we heard you guys about the 9:00 thing. Yeah. So we have moved it to 8. So definitely Lisa Cynical and Maya May. Make sure you follow them. And they're a cool show. We're speaking. Okay, sure. Here we go. Last question. It is okay. The probability of Matt Gaetz' indictment before the 4th of July.
Solid probability. Many attorneys now have had conversations with the last couple of days, and on a scale of 1 to completely fucked, Matt is somewhere around 7,000. This testimony from Joel Greenberg is devastating, but what Matt knows and what people are beginning to figure out is that a lot of the other people around the circle who have not been indicted do not want to be indicted. So they are squealing like a chorus of little piglets, and they are going to provide additional context and information about Matt's behavior. And she was 17, but I didn't know it is not an excuse in the eyes of the law in the great state of Florida, Matthew.
Indeed, it is not. And yet I am waiting for the perk walk, because he's so arrogant and so full of himself. And him and Marjorie Taylor Greene are going around on this, tour of two fools, America First tour. They're going to be in Arizona, I think, again next. And it's the amount of they're joining the cyber ninjas. on tour. It's the opening act. It sounds like a 90s Lollapalooza, like,
doesn't it though?
festival band.
On the main stage.
Yeah, the Cyber Ninjas.
It's Cyber
Ninjas. Yeah, it couldn't happen to a nicer person. And a lot of my friends who were former federal prosecutors have been talking a lot about this, and they've made it clear that you don't cut a deal the way that Joel Greenberg did with all of the counts he was facing. I mean, he was facing 33 counts. He pled guilty to only 6 of them.
Right.
They don't cut a deal like that unless they've gotten some
Joel Greenberg's a nice guy. Let's put it that way.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, we're all staying tuned for that because this ain't Bill Barr's Department of Justice, Matt Gaetz.
Well, at least when Matt Gaetz gets indicted and convicted, Donald Trump can Oh, wait.
Oh, wait. No, he can't. On that wonderful note, thank you guys for joining us. Next time you see
100% more cat.
Yes, next time you see us, we will be in our new season of LPTV. Remember, next Tuesday, we are back on this channel, on Twitter, on YouTube, Facebook at 8 p.m., our new time, 8 p.m. So stay tuned. We'll see you guys next week. And check out Lisa and Maya. Follow them. Make sure you follow them for their stuff.
We really appreciate you one and all.
Thank you, guys.